And then I have the thing up. All right. Whoa. We're doing this for the Zoom meeting too, so they can hear us. So welcome everybody. It is 6:30, so I'm a believer in getting done promptly and finishing on time. So so just to quickly do some introductions. So welcome to everybody that's in person and everybody that is online with us tonight. I appreciate you, everybody joining us. And so just to do a couple of introductions, I'm Carrie Stark, the State 4-H Program Director, and I'll let Sarah introduce herself.
I'm Sarah Tvotek, the Program Manager for 4-H Youth Development in Washoe County in Reno.
Our other presenter is Karen Best, who's right now busy, but she will be back. And then Lindsay, do you have your microphone turned on? I hope so. Yeah, she's okay. So Lindsay Chichester is the extension educator in Douglas County. And so she will be joining us. She'll be teaching one of the sections as well. She just wasn't able to be with us tonight. So we're doing this in a blended learning environment is what it's called. So, all right. Just a couple of things for those of you on Zoom, and I know you can't see us as presenters, but you will, but I'm going to share my screen in just a minute and you'll be able to see the content. So it really won't matter if you see us in person. And then also all of the handouts and the PowerPoints and everything that we'll be using tonight, minus a couple of them, but I'm going to have those available on what's called Nevada Box. It's like if you're familiar with Dropbox, or it's a cloud-based system. And what I'll do is email you, everybody that participates tonight, the link. So that way you've got all of those. And this is also being recorded. So we will get this recorded and then we will, I'll convert it into a YouTube video and we'll put it on the website.
So if you're ever having some insomnia, you can watch them.
Yes, yes. All right. So I am going, and just to quickly go over I have to share my screen though.
Are you having them introduce themselves?
Probably not.
Okay.
Okay, so I'm just going to go over the agenda with everybody. We have our welcome and introductions. Actually, we may, I'm not sure how many of you on Zoom land have audio. So, okay. Then I'm going to give an update on cooperative extension in Nevada 4-H, and I give you where we're at currently. We're going to do an update on policies and procedures, and then and that will be Sarah. Karen will be doing a presentation on marketing and promotion using the 4-H name and emblem, and also use of our UNR and UNCE logo. Lindsay will be talking about social media and how we use that within 4-H, and then we will be doing statewide events updates. We have lots of updates there, things that are going on, and then a time for question and answers. And then we will be done by 9 o'clock.
Might be even earlier.
Yeah, and might be earlier.
Exactly.
That's my goal. Okay. Actually, I'm going to stop sharing because when I do that, it doesn't work. And for those of you that are on Zoom, as you join, if you get a chance in the chat box, if you have not done already, if you can please put your name and your county so we just know who's on. We typically do, but just in case, I would appreciate it. Okay. All right. Can you do my mouse?
Your mouse, yes. And
okay.
Then when I will tell you when we talk about emblem and use. This, Carrie has committed a cardinal sin, just dangling H.
I think it did it when it converted over here. Because if you look at my page, it's not there.
No, yeah. So I just arrow down.
Yeah. Yeah, or you could just hit the mouse. If you go down.
Oh, man.
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay. So I don't know how many have seen the statement of purpose for Nevada 4-H, but our UNCE 4-H Youth Development is an age-appropriate, positive youth development program that helps shape future leaders and innovators through research-driven, hands-on learning activities with a focus on academic and career readiness. So as we create programs from the staff level, we always keep in mind that statement of purpose. And then a lot of times we would, that's our goal for our volunteers as well. And what you guys do on a daily basis with the youth, it's a statement of purpose. So, okay, next slide. So our vision is a world in which youth and adults grow, learn, grow, and work together as catalysts for positive change. And we do have some goals, and those are by 2025, 4-H will reflect the population demographics, the diverse needs and social conditions of the country. So this vision has the elements of inclusion, caring adults, involves more than 100,000 youth across the state, and volunteers and staff reflect the population. So we do have a goal to grow our program to 100,000 youth across the state. And I'm going to share with you what our numbers are for this year. So we have a pretty lofty goal, but I think it's very doable in the way that and then we are working on, the staff got together about a year ago and started creating or have been working on some strategic planning, but we did come up with a tagline, and we've been working with university marketing. And if any of you have ever worked with university marketing, it takes a year at least to even get an appointment with them. We're working on trying to get some things written up that for Nevada 4-H, empowering communities, enriching lives, to really kind of show what we do, in a simple 4 words. So you'll be seeing that a lot more. So as you look at this with our enrollments, so you can see the trends in enrollment. In 2014, 2015, and I came in May of 2015. So that would have been in the 2014-2015 year. We had about 52,000 youth that participated. And then in 2017-2018, this last year, we had 67,000, almost 68,000 youth that participated. So we are growing tremendously. Now, when you look at that with the duplicates and without the duplicates, so that is, sometimes, we may reach the same youth in multiple ways. So our program has a way of pulling that out. You can see gender is pretty much a 50-50 split. And then on our grade levels, the clover beds, or K through second grade, is about 24% of our membership in the program, our participation. The junior level, or the grades 3 through 5, is roughly about 40%. And the middle school kind of age group is about 15%. High school is about 11%. And then we have other, which makes up about 10%. That might be post-high school, because we do, some of our youth can go on after high school, or if we have young people with special needs, then they can participate past our normal age. So, and then if you look at our residential, so we do, do you remember when our youth check off on their 4-H enrollment, they say where they live? And so if you look at it, about 21% of our population in Nevada lives in the rural, in what they would consider a rural population, and about 79% of the participants are in the urban. So that would essentially be any place that's 50,000 or more people. And then our Latino and non-Latino, the Latino is about 36%, and non-Latino is about 64%. And then for ethnicity, and then when you get into race, we do have the white is about 72%. And so they do have to select ethnicity and race. So a lot of times Hispanic is Hispanic and then white. So I always have to kind of clarify those. It's confusing, I know, and then the Native American is about 2%. Asian is about 4%. We're reaching about 18% of our youth are Black. And let's see, 1% are Hawaiian or Pacific Islander, and then 3% are multiracial, and less than 1% are undetermined. Those are the individuals that choose not to answer.
There's an other.
That's the undetermined or the other. Yeah. Yeah. And that one you can't see very well. So our volunteers, we have about 4,200 volunteers. Now, I'm not sure, honestly, how accurate that is. We have probably, I would say 2,000 volunteers. The way the system reports things, it's sometimes, I don't know where they pull numbers from at times. But we do have probably about 2,000 adult volunteers, and we probably do have 1,300 teen volunteers or youth volunteers. So if you have any teen leaders, we need to make sure that they get that designation in 4-H Online. Can you check the chat too? Sorry.
Where's that?
It is right there. Just making sure we don't have questions. Okay, great. It was just people chiming in. You can close it. Okay. And then the next slide actually shows us where, like, our delivery modes. So we do have our club program, the club-based program. We have about 4,000 youth in that program. My goal is to double that at least, or triple it. If we're reaching 100,000 youth, we want to make those club numbers larger. And then our special interest or short-term based programs, those might be, it could be going into, like, doing some of the, I'm trying to think of some of the examples.
Short-term club projects, or we could be going into, like in Washoe County, we do day camps or break camps, and we'll go with, we have several programs through the Housing Authority, Women and Children's Center in the Sierra, those kinds of things. We'll do programs for kids like that.
Yeah, maybe like a 1 or 2 hour educational program.
A day.
Yeah, a day. So, and then our camp includes both overnight camping. So when our young people go to Lake Tahoe, or I know several of our other counties have camps around the state, or also day camps. School enrichment or school-based programming is when we go into schools and do programming. So we have a lot of that going on across the state. We go in and enhance those school programs. And the individual member or individual study, we have about 121. We don't necessarily encourage that, because we know through the research that, the young people get, their experience comes from that. Really, the best experience comes from that club program. But getting that educational program with a group of individuals, both adults, and then after school programs. We have a lot of after school programs going on as well. And then this one I thought was really interesting. This is the total number of projects that we have. So we have 87,000 science projects in this state. And you can see how those are broke up. The largest one is in technology and engineering. So that's our robotics. They do some water programs, lots of different things. Aerospace, all of those.
And all of our STEM stuff.
Yeah, pretty much all of the STEM projects go in there. And then animal science is another one of our very large areas. And then the next one is,
oh, you want me to?
Yeah, sorry. Healthy living.
I thought you were still analyzing.
Oh, sorry. Healthy living. So these are foods and nutrition. This would be personal safety. We have some health programs like first aid, those types of things. Communication and expressive arts, that's things like crochet and knitting
and we have the art curriculum.
Yeah, and the art curriculum, and those really fit under the healthy living because it's a hobby. And so you can see that's about 30,000. The one thing I will say, so the science, the healthy living, and then the next slide you're going to see is civic engagement. Those are our three mission mandates from National 4-H headquarters. And so what they, you know, those are the three areas that we are supposed to be working in, and pretty much everything we do fits in those three categories. So, and then civic engagement, this is kind of the one that I'd like to see increase by a lot. So we have civic engagement, community service, community volunteer service, and then leadership and personal development. That's where Clover Buds, yes.
Why is community service different?
You know, it's just the way the categories go. It's our clubs do community service, but they don't necessarily do it as a project.
Well, and actually too, I think what we're training staff that are inputting through 4-H online, we're converting to civic engagement and service learning. So we're no longer calling it community service, we're calling it service learning. So that's where it's probably going.
Yeah.
I mean, our club does a ton.
Yep, but it's part of the club program, not necessarily a project. But there is a project in community service if young people wanted to take that. If you wanted, or service learning, I should say. There's an actual project in that.
And Sharon says, I think there's a very blurred line between civic engagement and community service.
Yeah.
So it's getting reported in both areas.
Yeah. Yeah. So, and you know, things like, I don't know if any of you are familiar with the text talk and revived civility workshop that we did this last, in September. And then we did one very similar on reviving, or what was that one called?
Just reviving civility.
Yeah, reviving civility. We did that one in March for teens, and those are things that we're starting to do more and more of. So those will start being reported as well. So hopefully do one in the fall and one in the spring to get young people around civic engagement, thinking about civic engagement. So, all right, and I know this is a horrible slide.
You can't read it.
You cannot read it, but I'm going to explain it to you. I wanted people to see kind of what our structure is within cooperative extension currently. It's going to, and we have a question. Is every animal that's being raised counted as a project? It's not the animals themselves, but it is so if somebody's taking market beef and they have 2 steers, that's one project. Or if they're so it's essentially just the animal. That counts as one project. The project itself, but the number of animals is part of the project. So it counts as one. So on this slide, this is our current structure, and it's not really, as far as the 4-H program, it's really not going to change too much. But the top, and the people online can't see this, but the top square is Dr. Ivory Lyles, and he is our extension director and the Kavner, or the College of Agriculture and Biotechnology and Natural Resources. Thank you. I can never remember that. Associate Dean for Engagement. And so Dr. Lyles is head of extension, and he actually is housed both in Reno and in Vegas. He does now have an office here in Las Vegas. So he's down here about 1 or 2 weeks a month. So he splits his time. And then he does have an executive assistant who's the box under that. Underneath that, this is what affects most of our 4-H people. We do have our area directors, and so right now it's called the Southern Area Director. That name will change, but essentially the responsibilities aren't going to change a ton. But we do have a Southern Area Director, and they are housed here in Las Vegas. They do that person does supervise the extension educators that are in all of the counties, and the faculty members essentially. And so so right now the faculty so we've got, and then under the faculty members, right now that person supervises all the way up to White Pine, over to Eureka, down, over to Tonopah, Pahrump, that whole area. That is probably going to change to where that person will supervise Clark County and potentially Pahrump and maybe Lincoln County, but that will be all that that person supervises. And then the faculty members are then the individuals who supervise our community-based instructors, which are most of your 4-H staff. And then we do have a northern area director, or area director 2, I think is what they're going to call him, area 2 director. And that person supervises most of the northern area at this point, but when the structure does change, they will be supervising everybody but Clark County, essentially. And so all of the faculty members. And then then the box is kind of over by itself with everything underneath it. That is my position, the State 4-H Program Director. And under myself, I do have an administrative assistant. We will be hiring a half-time events coordinator. Then we also have our 4-H camp at Lake Tahoe. So I supervise the camp manager, the facilities manager, and we are in the process of hiring a camp educational coordinator. So that person will be under me. And then as well as, I think those are the permanent positions, yeah. And then I do have 3 temporary staff right now that I supervise. 2 that are in Nye County, and then 1 that is kind of backfilling for me on a project. So, and then under the camp manager, we do have, that's just listed our camp staff. So we have a maintenance coordinator that we're in the process of hiring, or that's the official title, but we call it the assistant manager. That's our working title. So they work directly with the camp manager, and both of those individuals live at the facility now. So we have 2 people on board, and then we have our head food service person, and then under them all of our temporary food service workers. In the summer, we end up hiring about 6 to 8 additional food service workers to be able to get everybody fed. So I just wanted people to kind of see that structure and know, and then I'll be going over some other things that you guys will see. So hopefully that line will get longer and there'll be more state staff. But some of the roles and responsibilities of those individuals. So the UNCE Associate Dean and Director and Associate Dean will be responsible for assuring that UNCE, the University of Nevada Cooperative Extension, 4-H youth development programs align with current and future university goals. And then my position as a state 4-H program leader is to provide leadership for the program related to program coherence and expansion, marketing, evaluation, and professional development. So, and both of us are responsible for marketing the program within the nation, the state, and also within the university. And then our area directors are responsible for supporting the teaching activities and the work with 4-H professionals to make sure that the program is cohesive, that there's marketing, the professional development, and the evaluation is all part of that 4-H professional's position. And then we have extension educators in every county, and they are essentially responsible for assuring that the 4-H youth development programs are conducted in their counties and that they align with that statement of purpose that I read in the beginning and the core features of learning. And so they're also responsible for marketing the program within their county and in their state. And the individuals that most of you are familiar with, you know well, are community-based instructors. And so their job is really to recruit volunteers who endorse our statement of purpose. And they're going to ensure that the volunteers participate in appropriate professional development that intentionally increases the focus of the core features of learning related to positive youth development. So communication, decision-making, problem-solving, conflict resolution. You can see all of those. So really, they're, as far as working with volunteers, they're going to be the ones that are managing the volunteers and putting together trainings for them. We're trying to do more at the state level, but so this is our first one. This is just, I have some quotes thrown in here because I like to use quotes, but what we do for ourselves dies with us. What we do for others remain immortal. So you guys all know, what you're doing with your young people now, they are going to remember for pretty much the rest of their lives. How many of you have heard of the Tough Study? Okay. So it was about, oh gosh, it was probably 15 years ago now. Tufts University was contracted to put together a longitudinal, so a long-term study of 4-H and what it is that makes 4-H different than other youth organizations. And so it was a 10-year study, and I think they went in thousands, tens of thousands of youth. It was in, I think, 42 different states. Just huge study. And they looked at kids that were in 4-H and kids that were not in 4-H. So they had control groups and everything. And kind of these are the big things that came out of it. So what they found is what makes 4-H different than any other youth organization, the one thing that really makes us stand out is our contribution, is that focus on contribution, so that focus on community service and giving back to our communities. What they found is other youth organizations don't necessarily have as big a component as we do. So, and then they're also finding as young people are growing, they're 3 times more likely to continue to contribute to their community. They're also 2 times more likely to pursue science. They're 2 times more likely to go to college, and they're less likely to be involved in risky behavior, which I think we all know that. You know, when you talk to teachers, we all, you know, I talk to teachers all the time, and they're like, I can point out your 4-H kids. We know them. So.
And to add to that, when they say two more times likely to pursue science, they also split that out to determine that young women involved in the 4-H development program were more likely to engage in the science fields of their peers.
I think they were 4 times more likely. Yeah. So the other thing that we have been working on pretty hard is, and some of you may have filled out some surveys in the last, well, probably 6 months. We've sent out a few surveys asking for stakeholder feedback, but we've been working on some strategic plans, because at the federal level, they did create a strategic plan. So that one is here. And then what we did is took this and we broke it down to the state level, and we're still working on it. Still, you know, strategic plans are always kind of that work in progress, but and then what the goal is once we finalize the state plan, we then want the counties to take it to their counties and take it down to that level, and how can we achieve the strategic plan. So I just wanted to share with you guys some of the pieces of this strategic plan. So there are, I believe, 5 areas, I think. And the first one is the power of youth. And so with that is youth as partners in their success. That's kind of the overall outcome that we want to have happen. So in that, kind of the strategies are youth participate in meaningful youth-adult partnerships. So when you have your team leaders, that's one way. We've also, you know, working on our state 4-H ambassador program. You know, some of you have heard that we're working on getting that back up and going and trying to make that a strong program again. A lot of counties are now starting to get their county ambassador program or their team leader groups, team councils up and going. Youth are civically engaged, and then also within that, within the youth as partners in their success, we also have youth culture is incorporated in program and delivery. You know, we think about how kids learn. They probably don't learn by paper and pencil very much anymore, so we have to start thinking about how we can adapt to some of those things. A lot of our STEM programs have been looking at that and figuring that out. And then also youth and adults work together to plan, design, and evaluate 4-H programming. So that's, you know, as you're planning your years within 4-H, and these are things that, you know, we've talked about at the state level, but as you're planning your program year, it would be really good to have those youth involved in what they want to learn. So, and then we've got youth are civically engaged. So that's, you know, they participate in community change. So that could be serving on community boards. That could be beyond just our 4-H committees. Youth are engaged in global, state, and local citizenship efforts. And I'm going to talk about this a little bit later, but we may have an opportunity in Nevada to bring back some international exchange programs as well as some state exchange programs. So really trying to get some more opportunities for our youth. And they're engaged in service learning. We are working on having a day of service for Nevada 4-H. You know, there is a National 4-H Day of Service, and so we're thinking about trying to figure out when we can have a Nevada Day of Service. So our clubs could be doing this all on the same day. Youth from communities are empowered to make changes, and youth-adult partnership education and implementation is common practice. And we've been thinking about, and I think that's something one of our committees needs to start looking at, is what we can do for training around youth-adult partnerships. And youth are prepared for college and career. Sorry, I'm keeping an eye on time, and I'm out of time, aren't I?
Close, yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
So, but I probably won't need the full 30 minutes, so.
Okay. Sorry. So, and then youth are prepared for college and career. So, you know, we want to promote first generation college access. We're going to be working on trying to get some things where kids can learn more about college and those types of, and just letting them know about college, you know, that college is even an option for them. And then exposure to career opportunities and post-secondary education. We've been working on a alumni list. So you may be asked to, at some point you may be asked to try to pull together some alumni lists so that way we can, we know who our alumni are. And when we have kids ask us, hey, do you know somebody that's in this career? We can say, yes, we do here. So, and then youth are engaged in have opportunities to engage in youth or college and career. And then youth will display skills needed to succeed throughout life. And so that's really, that transfer of those life skills into their current and future experiences. And then we have access, equity, and opportunity. So, access to 4-H programs is systematically valued and implemented. So 4-H defines and prioritizes access and opportunity. So, we talked, in our statement of purpose and those types of things that the 4-H program will reflect our demographics. And that's one of those pieces that we're going to be really working on, trying to figure out how we can reach all audiences and have a picture or have, and then also working on trying to get a lot of our materials translated into other languages. So. And then all youth in families and communities have opportunities to be involved in high quality 4-H programs. So that is, really looking at that reach and how we can do that, and that we have culturally relevant programs. I know here in Clark County, they've been doing a program called the Juntos program, which is a college and career readiness program, mostly in the Hispanic community, but that could be, we could take that into other communities as well. And so they're pilot testing it here in Clark County, but our goal is to get it statewide. So, and then that our volunteers and staff are skilled and knowledgeable to be prepared to work with all members of their community. And so that's really working on trying to get them. Let's see, we had a.
Okay. Somebody lost some hearing and now.
Okay.
So somebody lost their audio. I dialed in, it went quiet, and then dialed in to get right. Okay.
Okay.
So.
Okay. So and those are some of those pieces that we're trying to work on getting some additional trainings in as well. So then extraordinary opportunities to learn. So 4-H is grounded in research-based theories and practices. One of our big pieces there is we're really trying to make sure that the materials that you're using in the clubs are research-based materials. So we're trying to pull together that list of curriculum that is approved by the state. That we reflect sound educational models. So again, we're trying to do some training. You'll be seeing more and more training, especially as we add more and more staff to, some of these educational, like experiential learning. You guys have probably all heard about experiential learning, those types of educational models.
And the experiential learning model is what separates 4-H from all other youth serving organizations, because we as a society are really good at doing, like we stop there. So when we do reflect apply with kids, we're really reinforcing that, and that's what sets them aside from their peers.
Thank you. And programs are delivered in a variety of ways that engage youth. And that's, if you notice, we don't just have one delivery model, delivery mode for 4-H. We have multiple. And then also, how do we get to them? And then that we have high standards of quality and accountability. And you will be seeing more and more of this. We do have, we're trying to actually show the impact. So, without making it more work on the leaders, but on our volunteers, but you'll be seeing more and more ways that we can do that. Exceptional people. So, our staff and our volunteers have an understanding of positive youth development, that we have a well-trained volunteer force. It is pretty much one of our priorities to start having more and more volunteer trainings, and that they're meaningful. And that 4-H is leaders in research and practice of positive youth development. And I think the next one's the last one. So that organizational system. So 4-H is led through a shared leadership model. And this is, that it's not just the state. It's not, we have a partnership between USDA, the United States Department of Agriculture, and the National 4-H Council, which is our private fundraising arm of Extension. And then we also have a policy group. Then we also have our states. What's that? Oh, okay. We have our states, and we have our county partnerships. And that we build, our partnerships are built on the impact of 4-H programs. So we really are working on partnerships at the state level and at the county level. So, okay, and then we have the capacity to grow and thrive. You've heard me talk about that. How do we grow and thrive? And so we're working on that, trying to figure out how we can utilize social media, how we can utilize some of the, maybe virtual clubs. There's lots of opportunities for us. And then that we're recognized as a quality, our public recognizes us as a quality, positive youth development program. We know that happens now, but we just want to make it stronger. So, okay. In June, many of you, a survey was sent out to all of our stakeholders, and we asked for your thoughts on what are our priorities for staffing at the state level. And so this is how it came out. And I'm going to talk about it a little bit more, but the number one priority was a volunteer specialist. And I will tell you, right now, we do have a proposal in the state legislature, or we do have a proposal, an enhancement proposal to the state legislature asking for about $4.7 million for cooperative extension. About $2.5 million of that is to go to 4-H. The priorities for that, one is to hire 3 state specialists that can, for programming areas. And we can leverage that into 4 positions. So a volunteer specialist, a outdoor education and shooting sports specialist, a STEM specialist, and is that the 3?
Well, animal science.
Oh, and then also a partnership with the College of Agriculture. I'm just going to call it the College of Agriculture, Kavner. Dean Payne didn't hear me say that.
This is recorded. He did.
Yes. Oh, well. With an animal science specialist, and that person would be youth and adult. So, and then we are working on, and the state activities coordinator, we are actually, right now we do have somebody in that role. The administrative assistant in the state 4-H office is actually partially event coordination, but we're going to break that out, and that position will become full-time admin assistant, and then we're going to hire a half-time events coordinator or activities coordinator at the state level. And the urban programming specialist and the rural programming specialist, that is actually being worked on we are in the process of hiring a faculty member here in Clark County to work in urban programming. And then we do have a system in place. Once that person is hired, then I think it'll be all officially announced. We do have somebody that will take over urban programming responsibilities. So, rural. So essentially that person will work with the counties. Those 2 individuals will work with the counties as a liaison, kind of that first line when the counties have problems or questions or concerns, then they will go to that individual and then work with me on those. So kind of that liaison to the state office. And then we also ask for priorities of state level programming. And so, you can see all of these. I'm going to talk more about some of them. The state record book system, we are going to probably form a ad hoc committee. There's some things going on at the national level with record books that have been kind of waiting, but they're taking way too long. So we're going to be forming an ad hoc committee to look at trying to develop a state record book system. I will tell you that will be a long and tedious process because every county loves their record books and nobody wants to change them. So there will be a lot of give and take.
But the reason for moving towards a statewide record keeping system is so it's seamless. So if kids move across the state, they're equal with their peers. And when they make their applications to university and such, they're equal with their peers. So, apples and apples and oranges and oranges, not, this shooting as well as shooting preferred. It has to be the same. But like a small animal program here might look different than the small animal, and we want them to move similar, because that's what strengthens the fidelity of the program.
Yep. Statewide events and activities, I'm going to hold off because I'm going to talk a lot about that at the end. Statewide curriculum, we're working on getting that list together. And then statewide college and career readiness, I'm still not quite sure what that was, but
we're still working. That's a university initiative. Yeah,
that's a university initiative, so we're working on that. The statewide recognition system, that kind of goes almost along with the record books. And then the other three, we are, some of those are kind of out of our control at this point, like a statewide 4-H foundation. That's something that will be, that's a goal of mine, but that's probably a 10-year goal rather than a, 5-year or 3-year goal. And then the statewide STEM program, I'm hoping if we can get a state STEM specialist, then that takes care of that problem. So. And then just the last quotes. When a kid graduates, it's not only the kid and and his family that wins, it's our community that wins. So our goal is to get our young people through. Every kid is one caring adult away from being a success story. And let's see, children are our greatest treasure. They are our greatest treasure. They are our future. And the last one is alone we can do so little, but together we can do so much. And I love that quote because, without the volunteers, we can't conduct our programs. And without the staff, you guys can't volunteer. So we have to do it together. So, all right, I'm going to turn it over to Sarah.
And you're going to put up the P&P. So I'm going to talk to you about our policy guidelines, and, everybody goes, oh, God. Policies. I heard you all just go, but what we're doing with our statewide handbook on policy guidelines is we are pulling in all of the different policies that different counties are using and such. To give you a little background, because I've been here for a long time. In 4-H, I started my 4-H career in Montana and then moved to Nevada, so I've been here ever since. The only thing I've done longer than do this job is be a mom. And because the job always changes, it's always so much fun. Louisa can be here as long as me pretty soon. But we had different counties would develop policy statements because we were without a program leader for a number of years. And when we were fortunate to get a program leader back, we knew that we needed to bring everything under one umbrella, which would be the state program leader. Her title in the system is 4-H director, but nationwide, our state leaders are called program leaders. So I call her the program leader. And then University of Nevada Cooperative Extension was its own college for a while, for about 18 years, quite a while. And then this last year, we reconsolidated with Cabner. So then that was the recognition is that we needed to pull all these policies back together.
And if you've ever gone to the policy page of the 4-H website, there's like 20,000 pages of documents. So
not quite 20,000, but
well, it feels like it.
It feels like it, yeah. So what we wanted to do, the committee that's working on this, is to have one place where all of these documents are housed together. And what this will be in, Carrie will scroll to the table of contents, but what it'll be is that there'll be sections that are just general overview, like the introduction is, you know, what's it all about, how the interpretation and stuff, then the general information, our statement of purpose that Carrie shared with you, what the 4-H year is. And if you were ever curious, why do we do October 1 to September 30th? We match the federal fiscal year. That's, you know, everybody else does the June to July to June. We follow the federal year. And the educational philosophy, what the pledge is, what the motto is, what the emblem is, and Karen will go through all of that in a little while. Because the 4-H clover is a protected symbol within the United States Code. So it's pretty important. And then the membership and enrollment, what our age divisions are, all that is, what is 4-H? And then your financial requirements and all 4-H staff help you manage your financial requirements if you have a bank account and such. And then the different type, you know, all that volunteer management, the risk management, all of you, you know, because you're considered unpaid staff of the university, so you have a very important role. And then also you're mandated reporter, and most of you are doing your self-study guides and such. And so how you go through that reporting process, and your 4-H staff are there to support you in that role. And then when we do activities and events, because 4-H youth have so many opportunities to go to camp, to participate in statewide programs, to participate in regional programs, to participate in national programs. So we have all the policies around that because we take kids all over the country. I was fortunate through 4-H in 2015 I was a part of a 5-adult delegation. 3 of us were the chaperoning delegations. We took 20 youth to Ghana for a month. So we do, you know, worldwide work with kids too. And then we're going to have all of the civil rights stuff in terms of everything that we have to do, because what we pride ourselves in 4-H is that we're open to anyone and everyone, and that we teach children how to think, not what to think, because we want them to be independent and resourceful. And then we have our shooting sports, because we have shooting sports fighters right here, because you know all your rules and regs. You guys can all be thankful you don't. Those of you who are not doing shooting sports, they have so much more they have to do. And then the animal science programs, that's our horse and livestock and small animal. The different contests that we'll be doing, the 4-H horse rule book on horse shows and stuff, and then our equine safety helmet rule, and then our dog shows and stuff. And then there'll be an appendices that you'll see all the different documents that you might receive in an email, or they have to do online, or all of those different things. So it's just going to be, and this will launch January 1. We're putting all those because it has to go through. It's already gone through University Council, and it didn't die there. We were so glad. They said, okay, you're doing fine. But we're just moving through that, so you will all have access to that, and it'll be on our website, and then you can pull down the specific policies that work directly with you. And you'll see, you guys, your shooting sports committee has gone through a very extensive policy statement, so it takes up, you know, this is 128 pages, that shooting sports policy takes up maybe 50 pages. It's a lot.
And yeah, so you'll be able to pull down the whole document or each section, so you don't have to print all 100. It'll probably end up being, by the end,
maybe 150 pages.
Probably 150 pages.
So is this to replace the physical one you guys used to pass out to everyone?
Yeah, yes. All of those, this supersedes all of those other policies, because the 2 largest counties in the state, Clark County had a policy handbook, and Washoe, which also took in Douglas County, Story County, and Carson City. There was a 4-county policies and procedures, and then the other counties had bits and pieces. So this is the one guiding principle that oversees the entire 4-H youth development program in the state. Questions on that, or is there questions in the chat, or questions here?
Not yet. We didn't necessarily, I mean, there aren't huge major changes, I don't think so. It was more of just reviewing, making sure everything was up to date, and that we, you know, and then putting them into one. So.
Yeah, one common place.
Yes. So Sharon, the updates are so appreciated. Yes. I'll be really happy. This has been a goal of mine since I started, yes. And I'll be really happy when this document is all done. It'll be easier to update.
Yeah, once, because we had to do major rewrites on a lot of stuff.
So, okay.
So what's next?
Karen is next.
Can somebody tell Karen she's on?
Right now. She's still being trained.
Yeah.
I'll just kind of show, I'll kind of go through this so you can see how it's set up. So here's like the first, so, you know, there'll be a page, and then this is essentially how it, and then page 2 or section 2. Pretty much all looks like this.
And the reason it doesn't have a whole lot of graphics in it is that our university requires that all of our information is accessible. So for people that need to use alternative ways to read, we don't have to have a lot of separate text box that says picture here. Or so that's why. Yeah.
That's why it's boring and just straight up text.
I need the graphics. They're more fun.
So.
And the highlighted areas are just areas that we're updating.
Yeah.
Because this is a work in progress. But I think you guys, it's going to be really easy for you and very helpful for you.
Yeah, I was actually doing a reader's job. It was actually.
She's almost on.
Am I the next presentation?
Yes.
Yes, you are, Karen.
I was doing a leaders training for new leaders, and okay, all right,
So you're doing a new leaders
I
training.
was doing, yeah, it was just all the stuff is, I signed up for a portal. So Karen contacted me, somebody said we were trying to get a training, because I was doing some of it with like you, instead of just, you know, so I was trying to access some of it from the portal to show that.
Carrie,
It's nice to have that, because,
Yep.
you know, you can just show it to them, go straight from there.
I'm going to throw Carrie a curve here. While we're waiting for Karen, do you want to pull up the 4h.org website so we can go through the resources that volunteers would have there?
Yeah, because it was saying, if I read it correctly, about coming here, that this will be available.
Yes, Carrie reviewed that. Well, it's called Nevada Box. So these documents will be in there, and they'll be on our website and all of that.
The whole training and
Yes, and it's being recorded. And
that's wonderful. I think that's very important.
oh, she ran fast.
Sometimes I think that's very important, because that's why we don't have trainings, because they can't always all come.
Right. And then when we marketed this, we said that, you know, you can come in person if you want, or you can sit on your couch in your comfy clothes and do it on your laptop or your tablet.
Sharon, sorry, I was reading. They asked if you could repeat the questions, because they're having a hard time.
We had one participant here just sharing how she is using this information to help with her shooting sports leaders and training them and different, all leaders, all Clark County leaders, right? Okay.
And overview for designers. I was thinking an R1 first.
So if you guys have not gone to, it's just 4h.org. There's lots of resources there for volunteers. That's our national webpage, and lots of fun stuff on there. Yes. But there's lots of information for volunteers in there. Tons and tons and tons.
And I'll share it. For those of you that are online, this document will be up on the website, or up on that cloud for you.
This does not work. Okay, hi everybody. So
So we're going to go over this a little briefly. The big part about the UNCE UNR logo being on, and we'll talk a little bit more about that when it gets into social media and those type of things, but the big thing is that we often identify with 4-H, but we don't identify that this is a University of Nevada Cooperative Extension program. And so we want to make sure that, you know, flyers, shirts, those type of things have that branding on both. And so let's talk a little bit.
I have a question. When Airport Club is hosting their own event and they want to post it on the Facebook, do they have to have the university logo on there?
Their Facebook page should have the university logo.
Yes,
Lindsay
their
will go through
Facebook,
that, yeah.
the individual club Facebook pages, as well as UNCE pages, as well as all advertising should have both on it.
And they should have also the EO on the bottom as well, 3 days prior as well, or?
Well, yeah, yes, club flyers do. Yeah, I mean, because if they're open to the public, they either have to have the longer version, or if it's a general flyer, then they have AA or EEO or whatever. I never can remember those.
Any recommendation on where we can get that report? You can send it
Yes.
to you.
Yes, and the links to these as well.
They have all the Clover J. And in the Nevada box will have the N, because we, like Carrie did on the agenda, we have because we're able to use the Clover and the University of Nevada N, so you can do that. But because you are all authorized users, you're going to go into that, but you can get Clovers on the 4H.org.
So the first thing talks about the block N logo, and it just kind of explains to you what the N in the logo is. It has specific color patterns as well as dimensions as well. So your next, okay. The next one shows basic backgrounds that can be used. You'll see this similar to the 4H ones as well. Their backgrounds usually white, especially the N is very similar to the University of Nebraska. And so if it was on a red background, they would think you're from Nebraska and not Nevada. And so it's like the 4-H Clover, it has to be certain colors and certain dimensions. So the next slide will show the actual color palette and what colors can be used. And the next slide will show how it's used on different backgrounds. We can go through it pretty quickly. The next one is different color combinations. It talks about the space that needs to be around it. And we're going to do a little activity at the end where you guys can see we make that mistake all the time as well. And so we're learning when it comes to that as well. So you'll see in the game, there's some of my flyers that are on there. There's some of Carrie's flyers that have been on there. There's some of Sarah's. There's stuff in different things. So don't feel bad. So logo system and illegal uses. So you can see in there, and we'll go over that in 4-H as well, that there's certain colors that can't be used, the proportion. One thing to always remember with those is drag from the corner. Adjust logos from the corner and not from the top or bottom, and that will help you to keep the right dimensions.
Proportions, yeah.
Proportion, sorry. So visual identifiers. So different parts of the university have different logos. Ours is, of course, the N and the University of Nevada Cooperative Extension. And the next one just shows the athletic brands and what is a print release. You can always send the flyers to us and we can get them approved. We have to as well. We send them to a representative in the office and they get those approved. It's also good to send them to us too to get posted on our Facebook page and things like that. So the next one is the use of the 4-H clover.
Oh, I have to share it. That's what I do every time.
So this one I think you'll be more interested in because it's the clover.
Whatever.
All right. There we go.
So it just talks about its marketing and promotion, and those are your presenters tonight. So next slide. So using the 4-H name and emblem, the official 4-H emblem is the clover with 4 leaves on it and an H on each leaf. The clover stem must point to the right as you look at the image. It is not a plain 4-leaf clover. The emblem should appear in specific colors as well. And the emblem belongs to 4-H youth development under the USDA, and people must obtain permission to use that.
And you as 4-H volunteers have that. Once you're
Yes.
an approved leader, you are an authorized user
In your county.
in your county. Yeah.
So the next slide talks about that permission. And if you're in a chartered club, you have that permission. And if you're a fingerprinted leader, you have that permission. In your handout, which I don't know if I handed it out, but sorry. It will go over some other, so if you're working with other agencies or you're doing a community event or those type of things, it will give you some instruction on what you need to do in order to obtain permission for that.
If you're getting something that crosses county lines, which most of you are probably okay, but you do have to get state permission. And then if it crosses state lines, you have to get national permission.
And your 4-H staff will help
Yes.
you with
Mhm.
emblem use.
Yes.
And so that's why I know Sandy Valley did one not too long ago that we got approved. They did a shirt and they were worried about the vendor because it didn't put the USC numbers on it. And this is the lady I sent it to. So she approves those to see if it goes through. A lot of times, sometimes on the lettering, the numbers don't come through, and we can just get special approval for that.
It's too small for that little tiny one. So that's, the main thing is to make sure the clover.
And if I don't know the answer, I send it to USDA and say, tell me if this is, yes.
Because we do robotics, and we just completed an email, and we had a banner, and it said, you know, 4-H clover, and so is there some special permission to make it to?
Nope.
And post, oh, okay.
The question, for those of you that are online, the question was, if you're going to like a state event and you have a banner or something, then no, you're good. I mean, it's your club. But a lot of times, like if you're selling something and you're selling, you know, like sometimes clubs will get things that they sell and they have the 4-H clover on them. But if you sell them outside of your county, then you would just have to get that permission. Yeah, that's mainly, you know, I approve some of those. And then, you know, if you have vendors that you're working with on T-shirts, we need to get them permission to use the 4-H name and emblem as well. And so if you're not going outside of the county, or then, you know, somebody in your 4-H staff in your county can give that permission. If it's a vendor outside of the county, then I can, you know, then you just send it to me and I give them that permission.
And it's pretty easy when it comes to, like, a lot of you guys shop on 4-H Mall. That stuff's already approved. That's good. And every once in a while, there'll be other vendors that get that approval, and then you can also buy from them as well.
Like if you get printing through Custom Ink, they're an authorized vendor.
Yep.
So.
Yep.
So the next one. So did you know the 4-H symbol is a protected symbol, and it is very unique and it has a special status. Similar to the presidential seal and the Olympic rings.
There's 2 more now too. I just learned about. Smokey Bear and Red Cross are both have the same protection that we have.
In this US code.
And so you can read about that in the handout that I gave to you about where it came from, how it became a protected emblem and such. The graphic basics, you have the official 4-H emblem. You're going to use the whole emblem. You're going to keep it upright. The color as well, there's a color screen to that. It's usually the PMS 347 green, which anybody in graphics usually knows exactly what that is. It talks about one color printing. So sometimes if you just print all white, so if you look at Louisa's shirt, that has the UNCE and the 4-H grows here, and as long as it's all in the white ink. Or if you look at Christine's jacket, Christine has the hoodie, and so if it's all green. It talks about 2 color printing. You can look up even 4 colors.
The other piece, if you're printing it
if you're printing it on a piece of paper or like on her shirt where the H's are transparent, those can be the background color. So you can, if it's supposed to be white or.
It has to be white.
If you're, I think you can.
I just looked it up recently.
Okay, we'll look at that.
Because I've got in trouble for having orange glue here.
And then it talks about video and computer screen colors, which it's, so it breaks down their color codes, and that's R51, G153, B102. It also talks about distortion and proportion, and we talked about that a little bit about the dragging. Same thing with the clover. If you grab the logo from below or above or on the sides, it'll distort it, so grab it from the corners. And making 4-H name and emblem decisions. So it talks about some guidelines there, but once again, you can always email us and ask questions.
And just so you know, it is 4-H name and emblem. So if you use 4-H, that is also a protected,
It has to be.
and it has to be 4-H.
It has to be a capital.
So sometimes you just see 4-H. No, it has to have the dash in it. And that happens a lot. I think we missed one. We go back one.
Yep.
Okay, and it talks about using the 4-H.
Sorry.
Whoops.
That was me.
She's mouse happy.
Using the emblem on collateral items. It can be used on jewelry. I've seen a lot of those things entered in at the fair, different things like that. I'm using it in animation. There's a section on that. Like I said, it's partnership with others, and that can get tricky sometimes. You can always use us if you're working with somebody, because we'll work with the city, and the city will want their logo, and it's hard to do that. So use us to help you, but we can get it accomplished. So here are some examples of some that work well. So as you can see, the appropriate use, that logo straight up. The one with the dog picture, we can't have the dog covering the H's. The second one, you can have your club name or stuff below the logo, but you can't put it on top of the 4-H's.
Can't have anything on top of the clover.
Because the clover cops will get you.
It shows also preferred of course is the green color, but it is accepted to do a black with white H's or a white with black H's.
And we commonly refer to that as an open or a closed clover. The black clover is a closed clover, the white clover is an open clover. So you can print in those colors.
Can also be metallic gold.
Yeah. Those are the accepted colors.
Okay.
Okay, next. So we are now going to play Oops Logo Mishaps. So the Oops Logo Mishaps.
Can they see this? Oop. I don't want that. She has it. Okay.
So what you guys are going to do is when she clicks on the link, the first one to tell me what's wrong with this flyer. And actually you can't really see at the bottom. It's in gray.
Oh, there we go.
What's wrong with this flyer? And I believe the proportions on the end are wrong. It's stretched. And according to university, it's also too close to the clover.
Okay. Tell the group that I am working on this.
To share.
Yeah.
Wait, so you're not, what do you mean it's too close to the clover? That's not an issue.
So the University of Nevada Cooperative Extension is too close to the clover. So it has to have so much space in between.
Oh, yeah.
So always, if you notice on a lot of flyers, we try to put them on separate sides, just so you don't have that run-in.
But Karen, this was run through branding and they approved that.
Ashley sent it to me.
Well, no, Ashley isn't branding. So university branding approved that.
We won't tell you that before Sam got a hold of this, the admin assistant in Washoe County, the flag was backwards.
Yeah, I saw that and I said, Carrie, we're not in distress.
It's okay. I've got one of mine on there. It's one you see quite often.
Okay, I'm going back.
To oops.
Yep, I'm just trying to find it. Okay, so for the group online, I will share it as soon as I'm going to share this as soon as I get to that oops. Okay.
Sorry, I made my game too hard.
Nope, you're good.
Okay, what's wrong with these ones? This was me. I did this. But I didn't know I was doing anything wrong.
This one? No.
We'll do the camp one first.
I don't know why it's doing that at the bottom.
Well, because it's putting the face because it wants you to.
Okay. Is it up here?
Yeah, I see it. What's wrong with it?
Clark County.
You're right in a way. Clark County is not allowed to be there. So we did not know that. We got that sent to us from our marketing director, and it was on lots of shirts and lots of flyers and lots of things before the university saw it and said, absolutely not. So if you notice that will be changing. I actually got a new logo from Carrie last week, which I almost changed, and then I was like, no, I want you guys to see it because we do it too. So the next one.
So these are from your Facebook pages, is that why? So that's.
Yeah, they're all on our social media accounts, which I didn't know. So what's wrong with that one? That one's not mine, but that's, whose is it? Healthy Steps to Freedom.
That one's really bad.
I don't know how they did that one.
I don't know how they got away with
Can't
it.
see the box.
The N, as well as the University of Nevada Cooperative Extension, is not in proportion to the logo. So it looks like somebody dragged it, went out.
Wanted it to fill the skyline.
Are those people online are they able to see them now?
Are you guys able to see them online?
Okay, great, thank you. Okay,
Here's another one.
is this it? I mean, do I have to switch to the Facebook page or?
Another university program, Veggies for Kids. Do you guys see it now? Proportions in the end. It's also, Veggies for Kids is also a logo, and so having their logo so close to ours has proportion problems as well, as the end being kind of tall and skinny.
And smaller than the actual Veggies for Kids. Okay. Getting better at this.
So this is our profile picture on our Facebook page.
Not anymore.
It won't be for very long, but what is wrong with it? Yes, it has the Clark County. I found that one out the hard way. I was ordering shirts for something and it just sat there, and then they finally said, "Where did you get this from?" And I was like, "I've made thousands of shirts with this logo." And it didn't go through that day.
They do that.
Okay, what about this one?
There's no way. It's too close. You can't have the logo that close to all the other logos.
It might be okay. Proportions.
That putting the different youth logos, that's okay, but there's one glaring.
What program is it from? Which is also University of Nevada Cooperative Extension, so it should have the N on there as well.
Well, it does at the top, it's weird.
Well, this is
That's from their Facebook page.
Yeah. Yeah.
So that's what one of the biggest thing is, especially with the legislation that was going through, is a lot of people recognize 4-H, or they recognize Veggies for Kids, or a lot of different programs, but they don't recognize that it goes with University of Nevada Cooperative Extension. And so when things come out, they're like, "Oh, well, we don't have any University of Nevada Cooperative Extension programs, even though they have a 4-H program." What's wrong with that one?
Same thing, there's no.
Building blocks.
That's actually cool because it's not a 4-H cover.
It's hard today on top of the 4-H block. I don't see any end.
There's lots of different clovers. The one with the building blocks is not a 4-H clover, and it couldn't be used in that way. So it can be deceiving.
It can be, I mean, it's legal, but it's not a clover.
Because it's not a 4-H cover, it's just a clover.
And I also don't see an N on there.
What about the dance?
The what?
That's okay, because it can circle, as long as it doesn't cover the clover.
Oh, I gotcha.
And like I said, these are current 4-H flyers, so they do make mistakes in university programs.
As I said, every day I learn something new about the clover. I'm getting ready to share it, guys. I'm not leaving you out. Okay. Wish I could get, oh, there we go.
So there's clubs in Lovelock. And what do you see? The 4-H ones are actually okay, but you're missing the cooperative extension logo, which is common.
Ay, ay, ay.
What about this one?
Okay, here, I gotta share it again, sorry.
Sorry, I did not think of that when I was making that.
No, it's okay.
Offered exemptions.
Oh, that's a phone. I'm trying to get rid of this thing. Yeah.
It's a short, fat N.
What's missing off this flyer?
But scroll down some more. And where you see under the N where it says, and EEOAA yeah.
Yeah.
That on flyers like that, that's for general distribution, that's the civil rights that says, it says up here, it says, an EEO/AA institution. So that's acceptable on flyers that are for general distribution.
That's underneath the logo for those of you online.
How do things like this and, medals and stuff get away with not having the N anywhere?
Well, our awards medals because it's 4-H.
Yeah. So the question was, how did the awards medals and ribbons get away without having the N?
Jackets and shirts.
Right, and jackets and shirts because it is 4-H. We would like shirts if they could to have the logo on it. I know a few years ago, my first year here, Clark County did shirts for their day camps, and what they had was the UNCE logo on the sleeve, and then they had the 4-H clover on the shirt. So that's one way that you could do it.
But the medals that we purchase from the mall, because 4-H is nationwide because of the tri-level funding, because we're federally funded, so that's where that comes from. So it doesn't have to have the university.
So when we make our club shirts and we order them from 4-H online.
4-H mall.
4-H mall. It doesn't have the club.
Right.
You're fine.
And if we make them, it doesn't have that either. When we make them, are we supposed to put that on there?
There's some gray area there.
Yeah.
I think some people are starting to put the extension logo on there, but because of the federal recognition of the 4-H clover, I think that's why we can do it that way with just having our club shirts that say. When you order them from Shop 4-H, you can customize it to say
your club.
And like you said, that the reason why we wanted to talk about it today is because of that branding. Is 4-H is more well recognized than the cooperative extension, and so as those things continue, it's better to pair them off. And like you said, we've even started introducing it when we go to schools and that type of stuff. We talk about both and just instead of just 4-H.
And our preferred would be to have it on there, but we know that that's, if you're looking at cost of printing, those types of things, if it's going to add an extra like setup fee and those types of things, then
Different colors.
yeah.
And how in Washoe, how we've done that is like for camp, the registration brochure has the university logo on it, but the camp t-shirt does not, it just has the camp logo.
And the flyers are really the most important part because we want to make sure that things are accessible to people and that people know that they can join your club and join in different events.
That's really bad. Clover cops are coming.
So another fun one, 4-H club. What's wrong with that one? It's also on a camera. And the shirt. Does the shirt work?
The shirt does, yeah.
And you can use like I've used the clovers as
bullet
points before.
You can do.
Yep. Just can't use it as a watermark underneath anything. It used to look really, really cool in newsletters to use the clover as a watermark.
You got in trouble.
I got in trouble for that. And we have one more.
You can tell your story about how National Forest did the cease and desist.
Oh, yeah. I've done several of those. Nope, this one. Okay. Okay. Oh, this is the same one.
Oh, I must have copied that one twice.
So, is that all you had?
Yes.
Okay, so I have just a couple stories I have to share with you about the use of the name and emblem, so you know that, you know, it happens all the time. So, so I was doing a presentation one time for new staff. This was in when I was working in another state. And I've always been known as kind of the Clover police, the Clover cop, no matter where I've lived. And I'm doing the presentation about the use of the name and emblem, and I'm talking all about it, you know, and somebody goes, and I'm talking about, you know, you can't change the color, you can't do this, you can't do that. And somebody goes, you mean like your t-shirt? And I went, oh. So we were in the middle of our teen conference that we had, and I was the advisor for that group. And so we had our t-shirts on, and our colors were turquoise and navy blue. So our t-shirts for the ambassadors and the adults were navy blue with turquoise writing. And we thought we were all cool. We had the, you know, conference logo, we had the 4-H logo on, you know, 4-H clover on the sleeve. Well, lo and behold, I looked down at my sleeve, and my clover on my sleeve is turquoise. I was like, I don't think that works. I still have that shirt. And then with the turquoise, and then the delegates all got turquoise shirts, and their logo was navy blue. Now, the nice thing about navy blue is it looks enough like black that you can get away with it. But you can't get away with turquoise. And then, you know, I've also, I don't know if you know, if there's intentional misuse of the name and emblem, then you can get into trouble with USDA. And I've had a couple of incidents where we've had people turned in when in Idaho, we had a couple of meat packing plants. Of course, they were in the same county, they were rivals, you know, and I was sitting in a hotel room one night in that county watching TV, and an ad comes on from one of those local meat packing plants. Hey, come to my business. You know, we buy 4-H and FFA animals, and he's using the clover everywhere, and, you know, come support your local 4-H and FFA kids. Well, the other meat packer got a hold of it and said, don't think so, because you're using the 4-H name and emblem for your own personal gain. And that's what you can't do for businesses. So he got turned into USDA. And all they did was they got a hold of me at the state level, and I just wrote him, you know, I think I just called him and said, hey, you know, you can't do that. And one of the other reasons is because that ad, it would happen to be in Twin Falls County, and Elko County gets Twin Falls news sometimes, and so that ad would go down, and so it actually crossed state lines. So we had to, but we did that, and then I'll be honest with you, I just turned somebody into USDA, and they got a cease and desist letter because it was a person that was trying to use the 4-H name and emblem for their own personal gain. And what they did was they used 4-H without the dash, and they used the clover. It was the actual clover. It didn't have the H's in it, but it was the clover, and they will look at you on that. So that person got a cease and desist as well. So, you know, we do, you know, that's the first time I've ever done that. And it was just one of those that it was like, you know, wait a minute. We need to be, you know, properly using it. But like I said, it happens all the time. I mean,
I went to 4-H camp. It was another county or another area's camp, and I was helping them do some training, and I walk in, and the kids have, I mean, we're talking clovers about the size of on the back of your jackets. Yeah. They were hot pink.
Yeah.
It was like, oh my gosh.
I was at the state first contest in Idaho, and our little 4-H team comes walking in, the cutest shirts ever, camouflage, like silky t-shirts, bright orange clover on the front. I looked at our state STEM specialist and I said, those are great shirts, but next time can you tell them to make them green clovers? They can't have orange clovers. So it gets by. So, all right, let's see. And Sharon says it's so easy to make mistakes. Yes. And Sharon was exactly right. Make sure you run everything by your county. That's the best way, is just run it, just send it to to your 4-H professional in the county. If they don't know that answer, they will send it to me. I get lots of text messages and emails with pictures, and I just look at it and say yes, no, or I don't know. Let me quickly send it to the person at USDA, and they tell me yes or no. And I don't think I've ever told really anybody no. I mean, there might be, oh, you need to tweak this, but for the most part, everything is good. So.
And in my office, I have an amazing administrative assistant who's also a graphic artist. So he produces the club, he'll make all the club flyers and stuff. He loves doing that. So
he's the one that fixed
I have the fortunate to have, so fortunate to have that.
He's the one that fixed our flag on the text talk and revived civility. Was doing it about midnight one night. So, okay, so next up is Lindsay. Are you ready, Lindsay?
How would I mute?
What's that?
How would I share my screen?
On the bottom, you should have a share screen, a green button.
Oh, share. Thank you.
Okay, so Lindsay Chichester is up next, going to talk about social media.
Whoops. All right. Can you guys hear me all right?
Yeah.
Perfect. Well, I'm got my little guy here with me. My husband gets off work here in a little bit, so I apologize in advance if you hear any random screaming or other child noises. But I will visit with you tonight about social media training and guidelines. And I always like to start with this image. I grew up thinking, and most of you probably, Maslow's hierarchy of needs started at the bottom with, some of our basic needs. But today we're working with a group of people and kids that, Wi-Fi and their batteries and their phones.
Lindsay?
Yes.
Could you keep your voice towards your microphone? Because you're fading in and out.
Oh, okay. I'll just lean in really close. So I want to show a video that really talks about, or shows, I guess, how quickly social media is evolving. And if you don't have sound or can't hear it, that's okay, because it's just a soundtrack behind it. But watch closely, because they'll flash quite a bit of stuff on the screen. Okay. So I'm going to, I switched to a different little headset. Can you hear me better this way, sir?
Oh, there we go.
There.
I don't know if you guys can hear that or not.
Oh, now we can't hear you at all.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
All right. Can you hear me now? Can you hear anything?
I can hear you.
Okay, you can hear me?
Yep, you're good.
Check the chat.
Perfect. All right, so was there anything surprising in that video or that took anybody by surprise? I don't know, since I can't see anybody. I always think it's astonishing at how fast social media is growing, and perhaps it doesn't always reach the audience, the youth that we work with, but it certainly reaches their parents, their grandparents, and some of the people that we also rely on to make these programs work. So whether your county uses social media or not, or your clubs, or any of that is something to be determined. But I thought that this graphic was interesting as well, because it talks about what happens in an internet minute. And it's a comparison of between 2017 and 2018. And I want to focus mostly on Facebook because that seems to be the platform that most counties and clubs are most comfortable using. So in 1 minute in 2017, there were 900,000 logins. In just 1 year, that raised up to 973,000 logins every minute. So, I think these are kind of some important things to think about when we're trying to think about how we're going to reach different audiences, where we're going to meet people where they're at, and to share these are the story of what we do and the story of 4-H. Okay, so why you might consider using social media for 4-H. Obviously, promotion and events and activities is one way. We just have a bunch of flyers that promote the different things we do and offer. We can share information, education. Maybe we're trying to highlight successes and achievements. I've been watching our state winners of the 4-H livestock judging contest have been in Kentucky for the national judging contest. And so they've been posting pictures of them on a mom's Facebook page, but it's still, that's pretty amazing honor that those youth are getting to experience. It's a good way for us to engage with the public that may or may not know what we do and what 4-H and our extension are. We can communicate with different people and families using social media. It's also a nice central location to keep our photos, videos, and content. Sometimes, internally in our extension offices, we have that information, but so does everybody else attending events, and it's not always shared. If parents or family can't be in an event, perhaps they'd like to see those photos as well. And it's a quick and easy way to get content out. So some things to think about. Obviously, identifying which social media platform or platforms you want to use. As I said, Facebook is generally the most used one, just for the nature of what we do. Instagram is also popular. Very seldomly is Twitter used. And in 4-H extension, we really discourage anyone from using Snapchat just because of the risky nature of the photos disappearing and potentially what could be sent or received. Will having a social media account offer a positive enhancement to the project? So will there be some sort of benefit? If it seems like it's more work than it's worth, then it's probably not worth your time or, potentially your county's time to do that either. Will it reach your intended audience? So if your audience is actually the youth and, they don't have any of these platforms yet, or, perhaps they're on Snapchat, that's not what you're using, then social media is probably not the best platform for you. Will it expand my audience? So sometimes this is a good way to, reach people within the community that don't know what we do. And then determine what information you would share. Do you want to share events? Do you want to share information? Will you share content from other people? Just what does that look like? And then how do you currently get that information out? Are you using newspapers, flyers, electronic emails, 4-H online notifications, whatever that might look like? Who manages the accounts? And ultimately, at the end of the day, let's be realistic. Do we have the time to do that? So those are right or wrong answers to any of these, and each of you would know those answers better than anybody else. But of course, like everything, there's a policy for that, which is always subject to change. So be sure you keep in mind that, ask the faculty and staff at the extension office, and they can share if there's been any changes with you. Check some of the websites, and I try to provide links to everything that I'm showing you today so that you can go back and reference everything. But getting started. So in order to have a social media account on behalf of Nevada 4-H, you must be enrolled as a 4-H club, volunteer, or member within our states. You've got to have an email address if you're going to be an administrator or creator of the social media platform. And if you're working with any students or youth who are going to help manage these accounts, they must be supervised by someone at the extension office just to oversee what they're posting is appropriate. And, the ultimate goal is to make sure that everybody is being safe and smart and appropriate in what we post. And as usual, we just, survived an election season, and that's always a tense time in social media world. But keeping that line between personal and professional. So it's always important that you don't use any sort of 4-H social media platforms, UNR platforms, UNCE, to promote a cause, a political party, a candidate, or anything that's not directly affiliated with the University of Nevada. So I want to, and it's important to have a plan and talk about that with the current staff in your counties and designated administrators. So here's a little picture of Ashley Andrews. And if you don't know Ashley yet, she is the web and social media communications specialist. She's on campus in Reno, but she's a fantastic resource for all of you to know if you don't know her yet. But if you're currently an administrator on a social media platform, or if this is something that you're thinking about, Ashley will need to be an administrator on that account. And it's not because she is going to, big brother you and put up content or anything like that, but it's, in case of an emergency, she just kind of oversees and makes sure everybody's in compliance and that we're not going to, do anything that would get us in trouble. And she's a fantastic resource if you're having any problems. There are some specific policies. There's a social media form, and I linked to it down at the bottom of the presentation so that you can access it. So you would need to fill that out and get it to Ashley, and she can kind of help walk you through things to think about as you're potentially putting together what your social media account would look like. And then one of the big things, we've heard a little bit about it, is making sure that the content that you're putting on your social media platforms is accessible to people with different disabilities. So there's some information on how to do that as well. And again, that link is at the bottom. That in itself could be an entire training, so I didn't want to dive too much into it here. But just know that that is something that you need to be aware of as well. Individual clubs can have web pages. So if you choose as a club that perhaps a social media platform is not the route you want to go, and perhaps a web page would be a better fit for your club, that is definitely an option as well. And you can put information there. You've got to do the similar protocol, and some of those standards are Karen talked about the block-in use of the block-in logo and or our 4-H logo. So that would apply whether you're using a social media account or any sort of web page, and it must be prominent on the page. So if you're working with any sort of a partner or a funder, you can add those logos as appropriate. So perhaps you have an event and, I don't know, the local Pizza Hut has sponsored lunch. You can certainly recognize them as a lunch sponsor in that case, and share their page, whatever would be appropriate for that certain situation. Content must always be objective, accurate, research-based, and informative. So pretty much everything that is, our mission with collaborative extension. The account must have the affirmative action and equal opportunity statement at the bottom, or you can link to it. So we talked about on the flyers a little bit, sometimes space is a hot commodity on our flyers. And, a link is certainly a nice option because it hardly takes up any room. There's a question that came in, and are closed or secret Facebook groups considered social media accounts? That's a good answer or question. That's a good question, Alicia. I don't know. I'd have to ask Ashley, but I'm going to say yes. But since it would be private and closed, I don't know that for sure. So, okay, Carrie said she's going to find out, and if it's, she believes that they are. So we'll check into that and then let everybody know. But that's a good question. You cannot promote commercial products, businesses, enterprises, anything that can be considered a conflict of interest. So perhaps you are a gardening club leader and you think that Roundup, for example, is the best product in the world. Well, you probably shouldn't advertise that because it is a specific product. Maybe within your club you can say that, but to put it out there on the social media platform would probably not be advisable. Someone in the extension office or your 4-H staff should also be an administrator on the counts. And as I said earlier, Ashley does as well. And, sometimes if something happens to one of you, God forbid, as a 4-H leader or volunteer, and you had to step away from your role, then we have this Facebook or social media account out there that nobody can post content to or make the platform dormant until you're able to come back to it. And so this is just kind of a fail-safe method to ensure that that account isn't just sitting up there unmanaged and unmaintained. Let's see. My slide advancer. There we go. So some of the roles of administrators, which would probably be all of you in the room or some of you in the room, you are a representative of your county, 4-H, UNCE, and the university. So, there's definitely some power behind that. So just use it responsibly. Be consistent. The biggest thing is on social media, when you're thinking about a plan and what this looks like and talking it over with, other leaders within your club or your 4-H extension staff, how often you want to post, what you'll post, and, whether you post something 2 times a week or once a month, there's a lot of differences in public engagement on how often you post. So just try to be consistent. You can definitely provide links. What I like to do is share information. So if Carrie or other counties are posting good stuff, I don't have to recreate anything, and it's super easy for me just to share it to my pages, which is a big time saver and really is helpful. The tricky thing here is monitoring conversations and responding as needed. And I know this is where a lot of counties shy away from potentially having social media profiles because of the trolls and possible negative people that can just be on social media platforms. There's always those negative comments and things like that. In a minute, I'll come back to that, but it is important to monitor those conversations. They can have a plan in place when changes happen. Sometimes leaders transition out, new leaders are coming in, and or who's going to manage pages. So it's just important to think about and talk about all that stuff. There is an ongoing review, and this is something that Ashley does for all of us. So essentially, we don't need to do anything, but she just spot checks them for activity. So after 30 days of no activity on our social media platforms, she'll contact the extension office and just see what's up with that club, make sure everything's still okay. And maybe it's a club that just meets seasonally, 6 weeks, it could just be a time factor too. Continued inactivity may result in the account being closed. So if you are perhaps a leader of a club that is, maybe you're a hiking club and you only meet 7 months out of the year, it's perfectly okay on a social media platform to say that, this is our downtime. We're going to step away a little bit, look for us again in 2 months. So you can certainly put little notifications like that. All right. Sorry, my chat starts flashing when someone types in. So the answer is yes. So if it's in a private account, Alicia, you asked, Ashley still needs to be an administrator on those pages. Cindy, you can find the form. I don't know if you guys can see this, but on the bottom of the page are the links. And if you go to these links, and I'm sure Carrie will share this presentation with you, you can access all of this information again and all of the forms that you would need. And the policies and procedures document that was shared with all of you earlier, UNCE 4-H recommends having a date on your page to ensure the content is up to date. So it's kind of like, maybe in your day jobs, some of the forms that are updated, they'll have that date on there. You know, this form was updated October or November 2018. You can do that on your social media profiles as well, just to show people that, you know, you're there, you're adding new content. They should be able to see that as well if you're, you know, everything's date stamps on there. Okay. The First Amendment, the social speech is free speech, and this is where things can potentially get a little tricky and frustrating. So the First Amendment does provide protection to people commenting on our social media accounts. So good comments, bad comments, it could be any of the above. Once we create a social media profile, we are considered a public forum created by a public entity. We cannot pre-screen comments. So what that means is in Facebook, you can set it up that you have to see and approve comments first. That is not allowable. And you can also not delete, hide, or ban any comments or users. So most of the time this isn't a problem. Ashley shared with me earlier in the week that just on, you know, the basic Kavner websites or Facebook pages that she manages, that they have someone who is always very offensive, but generally she considers it lucky because that person sends them private messages rather than posting it on the main page. But still, there's really nothing that they can do except just try to deal with them. In certain circumstances, so, you know, threats, malicious, awful things, those things can be removed. But before you do any of that, I always recommend trying to get screen captures of it just to protect yourself. Sometimes I've had some online discussions with people and they'll go back later and remove their comments because they ended up, I don't know, feeling bad about it or realized they didn't want it out there for everybody to see. And then I have this whole string of just things that I have written and it looks silly because there's, you know, I'm responding to something that's no longer there, but there's nothing I can do about that. It has to stay. But if this should ever happen where you get in a situation where you need advice or potentially would like to remove something or someone, Ashley should be someone you reach out to. It's also recommended on our social media guidelines, the UNR police, and potentially the Title IX office. So just know that if this becomes really a bad situation, to contact your extension office and your 4-H personnel, and they can certainly help get you to the people who need to walk through this. Like I said, it's not that common. Stuff that you would figure it would be, you know, if you are working with the livestock and perhaps your club goes to tour a meat packer or, you know, anything that generally you see in your day-to-day personal profiles that people find offensive, you know, probably might have the same reaction on a 4-H page. So just think about that as you start to plan this. For the most part, people, you know, are happy to see what 4-H is doing and the good things that are happening. So I want to show you, if you don't know if you have any sort of social media profiles, where to find these and which ones are out there. So everybody should be familiar with, and if you're not already, our home pages for extension. So that would be unce.unr.edu. And if you go at the top up here to the locations up in the blue area, the menu there, and it takes you to each of the counties that have an extension office. Once you click on this one is Washoe County, and scroll over here to the right. Down here, there's a section called social media. So you can see specifically for Washoe County, whether they have a Facebook page. This little W means that they've got a blog, WordPress blog. The little bird is Twitter, the P is Pinterest, but mostly Facebook. And then you can click on any of those and it'll take you to their actual social media platform. A lot of our blogs have not been kept up very well. They're, you know, a little dated. Lane County's got one that's dated. The southern area's got one that's a little dated. So some of them aren't being kept up to date an awful lot, but that's a good way to look at them. And then down below the bottom here, you can see the entire social media directory. So what this looks like, and not everything's on here. I don't know. Maybe it hasn't been updated. Maybe Ashley's working through a few things with, you know, the ones that aren't listed. But this is kind of the home place where various social media platforms, different programs, different counties are listed at. So this is always a good way to, if you don't really know if this is for you, or maybe you've got a social media platform and you're in a rut, what to do with it. Go check out some of these, get some ideas. Some of them probably have got some cool things happening that you can check out. Sorry, Michael. Alicia, again, I don't know that question. Registering as a closed group. We'll have to find out more information on those closed groups and then let you know on that information. But I would say since it's a closed group, it probably would not be posted just because nobody can check it out. They wouldn't have access. So again, this is just the link where this information came from. It's on just general social media policies that everybody should, you know, be familiar with. And finally, there's my contact information. So if anyone has any questions or if I can help with anything, just you're welcome to reach out. And that's all I have.
Okay, there we go.
Thank you, Lindsay.
Thank you.
All right, and this PowerPoint will also be shared. The other thing I wanted to mention too is all of the social media policies and website policies are going to be in this, oh, wrong one, in the handy dandy state 4-H policies and procedures. So we said it's going to be hopefully a one-stop shop, and it will be. So, all right, and like I said, Lindsay's PowerPoint will be available as well with those links. So we are now going to move into, I just have to find the document that we need. Okay, so we're going to start with, we're going to, yep, I have to escape, sorry. Oh, I have too many things open on this computer. Okay. Okay, so I said we were going to talk about our statewide events, and you know, some of you, but prior to myself coming in 2015, we pretty much, there weren't too many statewide events that were happening. I think the state shooting sports match was about all that was left. And so we've been working really hard to try to get some of those things back. But probably the most exciting, and so if you want to go to the next one, this is just some dates for 2019, just to share with you guys. There's going to be a team leadership retreat in Winnemucca, and that's for any team leaders throughout in the state. It's going to be February 1st through the 3rd. And then National 4-H Conference, if you're not familiar with that, it is a week-long conference in Washington, D.C. And if any of your young people, it's for teens 14 to 19. And if anybody wants more information, I can get that. But that's typically held in March and April. I got the information today on it, but I was on the airplane pulling that down, and they didn't have the dates. They just had a link to a site to pull down the document, so I couldn't get it. So we are bringing back 4-H Capital Days. That will be April 27th through the 29th. So I encourage everybody to bring young people this year with the legislative session. We don't know what's going to happen, so we highly encourage that.
It's in Reno, right?
It's Carson City. Yep. Yeah. NJLS and Nevada Junior Livestock Show, May 8th through the 12th. There's a comment too, if you want to look at that. So, you know, that is for our young people that have livestock. They can go to the Nevada Junior Livestock Show. Oh, yes. Okay, Sharon, National 4-H Conference is an amazing experience. Yes, it is. We do have 4-H camps that are going on mostly in the month of July, but you're going to see an update about 4-H camp, but we are hiring an educational coordinator to work with the camps. So part of our goal is to have more opportunities for young people at, that aren't just, the traditional week-long 4-H camp. There might be a STEM camp, or there might be a leadership camp, or, our goal is to have lots of camps.
Crochet.
A crochet camp, yes.
The cooperative extension plans to pay for busing again like they did last year?
I don't know about
Repeat the question.
So we just had a question here about if the southern area paid for busing for the kids from the southern area to go to camp, and I don't know that answer yet. So we'll have to.
The new faculty?
Yeah, we're getting a new faculty member here, so hopefully.
We were able to send 11 kids.
Yeah.
We've never had that turnout from City Valley.
Yeah.
So the transportation helps.
Yeah. And that's good to know as we're moving into another phase of our camp, of a capital campaign. That kind of thing is good to know. Probably the biggest thing that is new, well, it's an old new event. We are bringing back the 4-H Expo. If any of you, I think the last time they said we did the 4-H Expo was in 2002. So that is a culminating statewide event where all of our state contests are going to happen. And I'm going to go into more details on that. But that is, we're bringing that back. And then National 4-H Congress is another national activity. It's really based around service learning. And that happens in November. This year, Nevada's sending one delegate. So we're going to talk about 4-H Expo. The dates are October 3rd through the 6th, 2019. So it is Thursday through Sunday. We're going to start the contest on Thursday, run them through Saturday. On Sunday, will be an awards brunch, and we will be done by noon so everybody can get home. So potential events. Now, granted, this is a long list. This is a lot of things happening. We don't think that we're going to get all of these things the first year, but this is our, this is our dream list. But we know, we pretty much know there will be a livestock breeding show, there will be a state horse show, static exhibits, demonstration, public speaking contest. The livestock contest will happen at this event. So judging, skill-a-thon, quiz bowl, as well as a horse contest. So hippology, if you're not familiar with that, that's like livestock skill-a-thon, but with horses. Judging and quiz bowl, there will be a dog show, a small animal show, so cats, rabbits, chickens, those kinds of things. Fashion review, the state shooting sports match will take place during this, and instead of being one day, it will be over a 3-day, so we weren't going to have the whole thing in one day, it'll be over a 3-day period. We're trying to get some robotics demonstrations, as 2 of our robotics instructors are sitting in front of me right now. For those of you online, we can't see that, but I've already had the conversation with them about, or at least with your wife, about potentially coming and doing a demonstration. And then eventually I would love to get some kind of robotics competition at Expo. Potentially having a consumer decision-making, special awards. So we're going to bring back the Leader of the Year award that has been sponsored by the Nevada Ag Foundation, as well as there's a few other, there's an American Youth Horse Council Volunteer of the Year award that we can do a state winner and then take to, and also youth award. So we're trying to pull some of those in. We want to do some volunteer training during that event. Do some team leader training, maybe do some foods contests like cupcake wars or something like that, if the kids have some fun too. A barbecue, there'll be a barbecue. And then also potentially doing a film festival. So maybe during the barbecue, we're all watching films that our young people have produced. So again, this is a long list, and it's probably not all going to happen in 2019, but this is our goal to get to. So make sure you get those dates on your calendar, and it's going to be a great event. There will be opportunities for staff, volunteers, and teens to be part of the planning of that event. So that information will be coming out probably within the next couple of weeks to have people sign up. Oh, there's a chat. There you go. Yes, we know that it's happening when school is in session, but there is really no other time, because if we held it in the summer, then most of our counties have not had their fairs or their qualifying events yet. So we have to do it. It was really pretty much the only time that we could do it.
And traditionally, Expo, we have when Expo was an annual event, it was always September, October.
And if it doesn't work, we're going to try it for 2 years in Winnemucca, and then the plan is to do 2 years in Winnemucca and then move it to 2 years in the Las Vegas area. So try to move it between the north, so not everybody has to travel as far distance every time. So, and then the other opportunity that I wanted to share with you guys is we have formed some statewide committees, and for the last year they've been functioning with staff, just trying to get things up and going, like get Capital Days up and going again, get the livestock shows up and going again. But this year, and my goal was always get them up and going, get things kind of started, and then I want to add volunteers and teams to that, to those statewide committees. So these are the committees that we currently have: animal science, civic engagement, adult volunteerism, team leadership, marketing and communications, shooting sports advisory, and then policies and procedures. So I will tell you, with animal science, that is one, they work on the livestock contests. They also, that committee will be looking at curriculum. They'll be looking at, what curriculum we want to use in animal science. They could possibly plan trainings around animal science. We want to do some leader trainings or some team trainings on the state level. Civic engagement, probably their two biggest things are the civil discourse conversations that we're having with our young people, and then also Capital Days. So those are the two big ones. Adult volunteerism, it's actually the Adult Volunteerism Committee that put this training together. They also are looking at that lovely new leader packet, those types of things. Then also our team leadership is the group that works with the 4-H ambassadors, our state ambassadors, and also trying to put together some resources for counties to have county ambassadors. And then also the team leadership retreat. Our marketing and communications committee is we're really trying to get that one off the ground, and that one we're working trying to get some more social media presence, those types of things. There is a shooting sports advisory committee now. I will tell you that one has a very pretty structured, and they're actually already formed. We will have some opportunity. There are representatives. There are 4 volunteer representatives, 2 team representatives, and 2 staff representatives from both the northern area and the southern area. Yeah, and then all of our nationally certified instructors are part of that committee as well. And there will be opportunities for people to rotate onto that committee. And then our policies and procedures committee, they are the ones that have been working very tirelessly on this book, on our handbook. So, like I said, what there will be is there's going to be an application that it's a very simple application. I know Louisa filled it out for the Shooting Sports Advisory Committee. Very simple, but we'll have that application, and then those will be reviewed, and so watch for that in the next. But if you want to be part of some of those statewide initiatives, then that would be great. So look at those. 4-H camp.
So now you're going to have to
Yep.
Do you remember?
Okay, so I wanted to give you guys, if you have not been to our Lake Tahoe camp, which is currently is our only state-owned facility, I want to share with you, if you have not been up there for a little while, I want to share with you some changes that have been happening up at our camp. Just, didn't I put it on? Yes. These are, okay. Where's it at? Sorry, it's trying to find these things. Oh, that's why. Okay. Oh, I think it'll be that one. Okay. Never mind. I love it when this happens. Yeah, okay, sorry, I'm trying to get it so I can share it with those that are on. We've had some really, really cool things happening at, okay, it is not wanting to share. Okay. So Danielle asked, how do you get on the committees? And there will be an application that will come out in the next, I would say the next month especially, for, and you can apply to be on those committees. Okay, now I'm gonna see, oops. If I can't share it, then I will just put it in the box account. There we go. Okay, so some of you know that with the 4-H camp, we had a change in leadership in April, and we did have, or the individuals that are up there have been working really hard on getting things updated, getting the aesthetics of our camp. And so I just wanted to share this with people. So you can see kind of the before and after pictures. The picture, you know, you can see that's the front gate. And so when you pull up, it's very, very pleasing and very inviting to come. You can just, yeah. And then you can see that's our, yeah, the sign. Yeah, you can see there's a big difference.
I mean, what's the name of it?
Well, no. But, yeah, I mean, they yeah.
Just really spiffed it.
That's what it looked like in June too. Yeah. Yeah, you can see, you know, some of the main goal at the beginning was to get the front gate, so it was very pleasing to come into. And then, let's see. Yeah, just some more pictures of the differences. And then we have a 100-year-old log cabin on the property, and so they just did, there was some landscaping done around it, because it's one of the first things when you pull into the camp that you see. So, and there's some reasons why I'm also showing you this and why we're doing some of this work. So, we're hiring, yeah, you can see there's some, those are the same, like that's the same kind of view. And then we had some aspen stands outside the cabin, so they've done a lot of, just a lot of landscaping around. So some of you, if you've been there, there was logs around the parking area, some old logs that were starting to get really gross, and so those were taken out. Then we actually, the two gentlemen that are up there right now formed a partnership with Vail, that owns Heavenly and all of the ski resorts up there, and they brought in about 50 to 80 volunteers and gave us $3,500 to do some changes. But they brought in the labor and gave us money to do the work, so it was pretty awesome. So this is one thing that they did. You know, they took out all those logs and put in the fencing around the parking area. They yeah, that's just another one. And they put in wood chips. I can't remember how many yards of wood chips, but it was just a boatload. There was also a big pile of like pine needles and brush out back that they all hauled away. And it was a huge job for one person or two people to do. So, yeah. So I just wanted to share that with you because we are moving into, I'm going to stop sharing and go back to the other PowerPoint. Hopefully it'll work. Yeah. Okay. So this is one of the disadvantages when I don't do this at my own computer. When I'm doing it on my computer, I can do that. But, you know, we have those facility updates. Those are, to me, that's huge. We're also in the middle of almost done with some of them. We are hiring a new camp manager for a permanent position. We are hiring the assistant manager, both of which will be living at the facility now. That is a change in kind of philosophy. We've had one person living up there, so now there's two. And then we're also hiring the educational program coordinator. And that position is actually housed in Reno in the state 4-H office, but will be working at the camp, doing a lot of programming, trying to bring in more programming. Our goal is to have that camp used 350 days a year, because we know it can't be used 365 days a year because and we're trying to get it so it's a year-round facility, but we're also trying, our people can't work that, like our managers and stuff have to have some time off. So our people that live at the camp. So, but that moves into a capital campaign. We are right now, I just met, and I think we are signing the contracts with the architect firm to do a master plan for the camp. We're moving into a capital campaign of probably between $10 and $40 million to raise money. What we want to do is upgrade bathrooms. One, we're trying to put bathrooms that are more connected to cabins. Instead of having just the 2 bathrooms, we're trying to figure out a way that we can do it a little better. And then we want to put a learning center that will have a little bit nicer rooms and some meeting room space on that facility, as well as updating the cabins and just really looking at some huge major changes and updating the camp. So looking for that, like I said, that's going to be a huge fundraising effort in the next couple of years. And as you talked about transportation, that's been in back of my mind is part of that capital campaign. Maybe we can somehow figure out how we can do a transportation endowment account to where, not just southern area, but I know it's tough on most of the state to be able to get to the camp. So maybe if we can have some funding kind of set aside to help offset those costs. Or buy a few buses. I don't know. I don't know. And then the other piece I talked about, international exchanges. We're looking at becoming part of what's called States International programs. And that, what we're looking at is with the Labo program. And that is an exchange program with Japan. So we would have about 12 Japanese students and 1 chaperone that would come to Nevada. Typically that happens July, like they would come July 21st and they would leave August 20th. So they're here for a month. They would stay with host families, and also the chaperone would stay with a host family as well. And so I guess part of my bringing that up is we're not committed to that yet. I'd like to get feedback from volunteers. I got some feedback last week from our staff. But, you guys are going to be the ones helping us find host families. So, do we think that we could find host families for 12 students? Anybody in Zoom land? Thoughts? Anybody here in Las Vegas? Any thoughts?
We're not in Las Vegas.
Well, you're in Las Vegas right now.
Southern Nevada.
Southern Nevada, yeah. It's one of those that I know we want to give our young people opportunities to, and then the other thing is we can also send our youth to Japan. They can go for a month and live with a host family, or they can go for 2 weeks, 2 weeks extra and go into a Japanese immersion program. So they actually learn the language.
So question is,
Yes. Well, not each child, but, you know, but we do send chaperones. So, okay. No, they can be spread throughout the whole state. Yep. And they're usually 11 to 13-year-olds is typically what they send. So
there's a question about another reposted again about how to get on the statewide committees.
Yeah. So Danielle, on the committees, you'll get an application, or the applications will be sent to the counties, and then I'm sure that they'll forward them out to the volunteers. So once that happens, you'll see them.
If you want a trial basis, have them.
Okay. We have somebody volunteer their 11-year-old to send to Japan, and you believe me, I've thought about. I've been thinking about sending my 13-year-old. Because 13-year-olds are so much fun. And they kept telling me, boys are easier. And I said, no, they're not. No. But just know, so I can't guarantee that that's going to happen this year for the international exchanges, but we are really very much looking into that, trying to, and part of that is, you know, that's a program that's it funds itself. So we don't have to come up with a lot of dollars for that. So, but I also want to give our kids the opportunities to see the other, and it can lead into exchanges with Finland, and, you know, we can send young people to Australia and Finland, and I'm trying to think of all the places, Sweden, Poland, Poland, Norway, Germany. I mean, there's tons of opportunities. So, all right. I think those are the updates from this, you know, from kind of the state. You can see there's lots happening. So we really are working on it. And then Sarah and I were talking on the way down today about we're trying to figure out some days we'll talk to the committee and trying to do some more trainings in the spring for volunteers as well. So any questions from anybody? We have about 2 minutes. So 4 minutes?
4 minutes.
4 minutes, sorry. So any questions, comments, thoughts? I know it's been a long night, but I appreciate you guys hanging out with us and participating. Hopefully you've gotten something out of it. You're learning that we aren't just hanging out in Reno anymore, trying to get some things. So trying to get some things done. So the other piece is you may be hearing from us too in the coming with the legislative session. So if we may have to ask you guys to help advocate for us. We can't really advocate or lobby ourselves, but we can ask you guys to help us. We don't know what's going to happen if we're going to have a similar bill that comes up in the legislature. Not a clue. So, but we're trying to be proactive instead of reactive this year. So in the last legislative session, there was a bill that was proposed in the legislature that would have a split extension. Yeah. So we don't know. We have no idea at this point. So, but if you do get that email from us, please get a hold of your legislature. But get out and we're trying to also be proactive and get out and let your legislators, let your commissioners, let everybody know what you're doing with the great things that are happening. Invite them to things. Work with your county staff to, make sure that you know who they are and that you're getting the word out. So, all right. If nobody else has any other questions, I appreciate those of you that came in over Zoom. Hopefully you had fun sitting in your comfy clothes at your house. I appreciate, and this is something that we're working on, looking at trying to do more things via Zoom. Some of you have participated in a few things, but we're looking at trying to do a few more like this. So thank you. And it sounds like some of them had a party at their house. So Danielle, next time, we might have to do it from your house instead. So, but that's a, fun way to do it too, is to have a group over. So thank you and have a good night, everybody. I know some of those here in our room have a long drive home. So thank you guys for driving in too. So. All right, and have a good night. And I'm going to go ahead and shut the system down too.
No, I was looking at it.
You did.